Dallas police had to get a warrant to get blood from the man accused of being on drugs and causing a crash that killed a former city councilwoman and her daughter. But police don't and didn't think they needed to.
Yeah, police say he gave consent, but a nurse disagreed, and some in law enforcement say that that's not really a nurse's decision to make. We asked local hospital officials about their policies dealing with police, and Fox 4's Allison Harris is in now with more. Allison.
Stephen, Heather, we've heard different things today from police, our local hospitals, and the State Nurses Association. This blood draw could be crucial in the case against Jonathan Moore. The man in the wheelchair is Jonathan Moore, being booked into the Dallas County Jail as soon as he was released from the hospital Wednesday. His charges were upgraded to 2 counts of intoxication manslaughter after former Dallas City Council member Carolyn Davis's daughter, Melissa Davis Nunn, also died from the crash.
You have a history of drug alcohol abuse? Yes.
Moore has 5 prior DWI convictions. These are some of his past mugshots over the years. He had been off probation 5 days and had just gotten alcohol detection devices taken out of his SUV when police say he drove the wrong way Monday night near Ledbetter and Lancaster and hit and fatally injured the 2 women. His arrest affidavit states that he said he had been taking Xanax, that he had bloodshot eyes and was speaking at a rapid pace, and that he could not recite the alphabet properly. He took a breath test that resulted in 0, indicating that he had not been drinking. But once he was at Methodist Dallas Medical Center, after he was under arrest, police say he said yes to a blood test, giving verbal consent. But the arrest affidavit states that a nurse told officers they could not conduct a legal blood draw on him because he was intoxicated and therefore could not consent, adding the officer would have to have a search warrant or would have to wait until he was no longer intoxicated.
That's not their job. Their job is to provide care for their health, not their legal status.
The Dallas Police Association says that search warrant was not necessary, but officers did get a search warrant, and an hour after Moore's arrest, 2 hours after the crash, his blood was drawn.
Giving a verbal consent, you can do it when you're intoxicated. That verbal consent was videotaped on body camera.
But the Texas Nurses Association told us otherwise via Skype.
And in Texas, we do need a search warrant.
The Supreme Court ruled just last month that police can draw blood from an unconscious driver without the driver's permission and without a warrant if police believe the driver is under the influence. We contacted area hospitals to ask their policies. Both Texas Health and Parkland seem to put the liability back on law enforcement. A statement from Texas Health reads, if a person is in custody and has been arrested, law enforcement can request taking a blood draw without an individual's consent. It is law enforcement's responsibility to know that the person has been arrested for an offense that does not require consent. Parkland's policy states, the officer will cite reason for blood draw. This is the decision of the officer and not the responsibility of the registered nurse. But Methodist Dallas Medical Center, where Moore's blood was eventually drawn after a warrant, would not provide its policy like other hospitals did, citing privacy laws. It did send a statement stating in part, we were saddened to learn of the death of Councilwoman Carolyn Davis and her daughter Melissa. Methodist values the courage and bravery of our police. We make every effort to work in tandem. And we also just received a statement from Baylor stating simply that Baylor complies with Texas law as it relates to taking blood from someone suspected of DWI.